Welcome to the Scottsdale Big Book Study, where we will study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today is Saturday, September 14th, and I am Audrey Ann, and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater, and I'm your host for today's study. The co-hosts are Danny P. and Maria F. If for any reason you need to contact any of the co-hosts, you can chat us in private in the chat function, as the chat function will be closed for the session. Please note that the speaker, Harlan G, will be recorded for the duration of the study. However, the Q&A session which follows will not be recorded. We ask if you can please make sure to keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's study, and also please turn off your video if you are exercising, eating, or if you need to step away from your screen for any reason. During the meeting, we will post the link to our 7th edition. This money goes towards our Zoom account, the cost of uploading our recordings, and we also send contributions to our intergroup, Arizona, Serenity in the Desert, and World Service Organization. We will post a link to the previous week recordings, and these will be available by clicking on that link, and they will be posted in the chat. And I will now hand you over to Harlan. Thank you, Harlan.
Thank you very much, Audrey. Thank you very, very much. I'm so happy to be here. And I am so happy that you guys are here too, because it would look ridiculous for me to sit here and talk to myself. So thank you for coming to make me look a little bit more normal. We have been talking about step 4, and we're in the middle of step 4. And today, when we get started, we're going to start on the bottom of 67. And we're going to start with, notice that the word fear is bracketed. That's where we're going to start, is notice that the word fear is bracketed. And that is going to be our starting point for today. And we have been talking about step 4. And hopefully what we've been doing is shattering some of the overthinking, some of the complications that we put in on step 4. Step 4 is a very simple process. And what we're doing in step 4 is we're going to uncover, discover, and discard. We're going to uncover the things in our personalities, our makeups, our biology that have been holding us back. The 5 defects of character have woven their way through our lives to destroy us to one degree or another. The 5 defects of character are selfish, self-seeking, anger, fear, and dishonesty. Those are the 5 defects of character: selfish, self-seeking, dishonesty, resentment or anger, and fear. Selfish, self-seeking, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. Yeah, those are the 5 character defects. And recently I had a conversation with somebody, and they said they had 105 character defects. And I said, nope, you're about 100 over. You have 5 of them. I said, a lot of these are the 100 things that you think are character defects are really behaviors that stem from these character defects. And last week, we took a look at the purpose of step 4. It is like a commercial inventory. So we take a look at a store, a commercial fact-facing process. And I have a store, and I have borrowed money, and I've dedicated shelf space to some umbrellas, and I live in Arizona, where it rains, 10 times a year, 5 times a year, whatever it rains. And I've got these umbrellas in the store. Nobody's buying them. Nobody's buying them. And they're taking up space, and I'm losing money. And I have to take an honest assessment of my store and its inventory. And I have to see what's selling and what's not selling. And I have to get rid of the things that are not selling. And I have to get more of the things that are selling. So when we say uncover, what we're talking about here is to uncover the things in our inventory that are just not working. I'm trying to control the world around me, which is selfishness. I'm going to try to manipulate somebody into doing what I want them to do. That's self-seeking. I resent them when they won't do what I want them to do. That's resentment. That's anger. Now I'm afraid when they don't do what I want them to do. That's fear. And I lie about them and to them to try to manipulate the world and that person. I'm not engaging in my personality. I'm engaging in image management. I lie to this person. I tell them I'm a Democrat. And then I lie to that person, tell them I'm a Republican. I lie to that person and tell them I like red. I lie to that person, tell them I like blue. I'm not being honest with them, and I'm not being honest with myself. Why do I do that? Because I want them to like me. I want them to accept me. And we talked about last week, where does anger come from? Where does fear come from? What are the emanation points of anger and fear? And we find that the emanation points of anger and fear lie in the three basic instincts of life. And we talked about this last week, but as is my want, we're going to review them quickly today because it's very important that we know this. All anger and all fear lie in a threat or a perceived threat to the three basic instincts of life. Might only be one instinct or two, but there are three of them. Maybe all three, we don't know. Or my ambitions for the future. Let's take a brief look. The first instinct of life, cavemen had this, and if we look at Cro-Magnon man, Heidelberg man, we look at Peking man, we look at these basic cavemen, we find in archaeological digs that they knew that they could live better and safer if they banded together in communities, rather than try to hunt themselves, rather than try to protect themselves, rather than try to live as loners. They believed, because of this instinct, that they were much safer and could hunt for food more efficiently and protect each other from harm by living together. Now, they became a society. Social and society, they all come from the same root word. And they found this, and it's proven. And we have an instinct, we have a basic instinct to be accepted by society. And if you want a beautiful, beautiful example of the social instinct at work, go to any high school at lunchtime. And you see the jocks, and they're over there. And you see the nerds, they're over there. And you see the athletes, or the jocks are athletes. You see the cool kids, they're over there. And you see the kids over here. You see basic groups forming within the lunchroom. And if I were to say, okay, there's a guy in my group, let's call him John, or let's call him Rumpelstiltskin, or whatever. And I want him out of my group, and I start trying to manipulate my friends to try to ostracize him from the group, and he gets wind of it, he's going to be very hurt, very offended, fearful, resentful, and he's going to strike back at me, creating pain and suffering for me. And when he does this, it is going to make me uncomfortable, and my brain is going to lock in on the sense of ease and comfort that comes instantly by eating certain foods. Broccoli, probably not. Brussels sprouts, probably not. More likely it's going to be Doritos, Chips Ahoy, Almond Joy, that kind of thing. Now, why is that? Because going back to step one, Almond Joy bars create in my brain an instant soothing, an instant effect, if you will, or as Dr. Silkworth calls it, a sense of ease and comfort that will come over me at once when I am eating certain foods. And when I eat these foods, I feel better immediately. Now, what's the problem there? If that was true, I could take some M&Ms and I could wear like a fanny pack You know what a fanny pack is? The things you wear around your waist. I could fill up my fanny pack with M&Ms with peanuts. And every time I had fear, every time I had a little guilt, shame, remorse, whatever, I could pop an M&M in my mouth and I would feel better instantly. What's wrong with that? A lot of people take Xanax, or they take whatever they take, or they drink, or they smoke weed, whatever they do. Well, the problem with that is, because I am a compulsive overeater, I also have a physical allergy to M&Ms. And every single time I've ever eaten one M&M, I ended up eating a lot more M&Ms than I ever planned. I never planned to eat that many M&Ms. And then it didn't stop with M&Ms. I went and ate Doritos, sandwiches, hamburgers, French fries, pizza, whatever it was. One thing led to another. And many, 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 many times in my life, I have gone from McDonald's to Burger King, Wendy's, one to the other, tossing garbage out the window as I did, because I didn't want the drive-through clerk at Wendy's to see my McDonald's bag. I didn't want the drive-through person at Tasty Freeze to see my whatever bag. I was a litterer as well. Like anybody cared, like these guys care when they couldn't care less. But in my mind, I'm so important that everybody's going to care. So that's the social instinct. So if you threaten the group I'm in now, or my ambition for the future, what is my ambition for the future? Maybe I'm thinking of going out for the baseball team. And if I make the baseball team, I want to hang with the jocks. Maybe there's more to me being on the baseball team than meets the eye. Maybe it isn't just that I want to be on the baseball team because I love playing baseball. Maybe I want to be on the baseball team because I want to sit in the lunchroom with the jocks. And somebody's bad-mouthing me and telling those guys I shouldn't be allowed to sit with them. That's going to evoke fear and resentment in me. So it's what I have now, or my ambitions for the future in the social instinct. And the social instinct has a subheading, and the subheading of the social instinct is self-esteem. If you besmirch me and you tell people I'm a yutz, it's going to hurt my self-esteem. One of the things that I found about my self-esteem is probably true for you too. It is more often reflective. What do I mean by reflective? Well, there's 97 of you here this morning. And if 97 people got up on a Saturday morning to listen to me prattle on about the big book, I must be an okay dude. And if you guys think I'm an okay dude, maybe I am an okay dude. But if I were doing this and there was 2 people on here or nobody on here, I might think I'm a bit of a putz. So it would hurt my self-esteem. Thank God you guys keep coming back, and your checks will be in the mail. So thank you very much. And I will get those checks out to you, forthwith. Now, besides the social instinct, we have the security instinct. What is the security instinct? The security instinct is basically pocketbook. It is pocketbook. God imbues us with an instinct that we need to go out and make a living. But he also gives us the knowledge that if I make $1, I better not go out and spend $1. I better only spend about maybe 80 cents, because I'm going to need to take that other 20 cents and maybe give 10 cents of it to charity, maybe. I may want to save 10 cents for a rainy day. Okay. I don't have the ability to spend 100% of the money that I come into, because my brain and my instinct will not allow me to do that. It will not allow me to do it. There is a danger warning in my brain. Now, sometimes if I stumble upon $10 or $20, I'll spend it. But on the whole, when I get paid, and I don't get paid like you guys do in a check, I get paid by my customers when they send me checks, but I have an instinct that says, don't you dare go spend all your money. Because if you spend all your money, that could be trouble with a capital T. Don't do it. You can give some to charity, but don't you dare go and spend all your money, because that could lead to problems. Now, I have a business, and if you were to come and try to take my business away, you're going to scare me. I'm going to resent you. I'm going to try to lash out at you, creating pain and suffering for you, because you're threatening my security instinct. What about my ambitions for the future in this area? Let's say I'm working for XYZ Corporation, and XYZ Corporation pays me X amount per hour. Now I find out that ABC Corporation pays X plus $10 per hour. And I have an ambition to go work for ABC Company because they pay more money for the same job. And you stand in my way of going to work for ABC Company. That is, if you are affecting my ambition for the future. You are affecting my ambition for the future. Okay? I hope everybody understands that. If not, we'll recover it a little bit in Q&A. But it should be pretty straightforward. Under the security instinct, there are two subheadings. Number one is personal security. Let's just picture for just a second here that we are not on Zoom, but we are actually in a room and we are live and ready to go. All of us are in the same room. And someone comes into this room with what we perceive is not only a weapon, but because of the cut of their jib, we perceive that they are a threat to our personal security. Instinctively, we are going to fight or we are going to flee, fight or flight. We are going to protect ourselves from this threat to our personal security. So ambitions for the future wouldn't necessarily play into this, but we would fight or flight in the face of a threat to our personal security. That instinct is imbued into us. It is in us because of God. It is a God-given instinct, not only for the survival of you, but the survival of the human race. Very, very important. Personal security is an important one. Now, the last part of the security instinct is emotional security. Emotional security. By emotional security, how is that different from self-esteem? Self-esteem is what I think of myself, but my emotional security means I'm feeling good about today. I'm feeling good about who I am and where I am in life. And that's emotional security. I have many friends. I'm very, very lucky. But two of my friends have been having the same fight for 60 years. And the fight that they have is what's on the radio. I won't drive with either one of them. I would rather be run over or eaten by a crocodile than drive in a car with these two men, because they're going to fight. One likes the really loud and raucous rock and roll. I don't even know. I probably could mention some names of groups, but I don't want to be incorrect. He likes the loud rock and roll. And the other guy, he likes the music that I like. Quieter and more like Carpenters and the Beatles and, just nice, quiet, nice music. And they're going to fight. I don't want to be around it. These guys have known each other, we're all 70. They've known each other for most of 70 years. And I won't ride in a car with them because it upsets their emotional security. Do they really care what's on the radio? for a 10-minute car ride when they come here to Scottsdale? They're here. Everything in Scottsdale is very close. There's nothing that far away. No, they've got to have their way. They've got to win rather than lose. I don't want to be a part of it. They like it. Go. And I have my own car here. I live here. I'll drive, and you guys can go kill yourselves. I'm not going to be a part of it. Okay. So emotional security, personal security, and the security instinct is about pocketbook. Security means pocketbook, your living, your money. Now, there's the third instinct, which will have no subheadings, and that is the sex instinct. If human beings were not imbued with an instinct to pair bond, and some of us have an unnatural instinct for that, and that's why there's SLAA. And SLAA is a fine program, but we're not going to be talking about it here today. But the bottom line is that sometimes that instinct can go awry. Okay, it can go awry. And the bottom line is that we have an instinct to pair bond. Now, I have a girlfriend, and if I saw my girlfriend over there talking to some guy, and that this guy's putting his hands on her, or she's touching him, and he's laughing at all his idiotic, stupid jokes because I'm funnier than him. No, don't say anything. But the bottom line is that if I see that, I'm going to get jealous. I'm going to turn green. I'm going to be jealous. So he's affecting what I have now. Now, let's say, for example, I have a girlfriend or I don't have a girlfriend, but I want to go out with Mary Jones over there. She's the apple of my eye, and I really want to go out with her. And I see her touching some guy and laughing at his stupid jokes. That man, even though I may not know him, he is affecting my ambition for the future. If we didn't have this sex instinct, if we were not imbued with this instinct to pair bond, about 100 years from now, the human race would cease to exist. There wouldn't be a human being on the face of the earth. And that's how quick it happens. Within 100 years, the human race, with all of its developments, with all of its advantages, would cease to exist. There wouldn't be a human being on the face of the earth. That's how quick it happens. So God imbues us with this instinct. Now, let's go to the bottom of page 67. And we're going to talk about fear. Mostly within me, fear comes from one of two things. Yes, it comes from a threat to my basic instincts, but here's even simpler. I'm going to boil it down even easier than that for me. Don't know how it is for you, only know how it is for me. Fear in Harlan comes from a threat to losing something that I already have. I'm going to show you my phone. This is my phone. This is my telephone. This is a cell phone. I like it. I enjoy it. I use it all the time. And I don't want to lose it. But if you came here and something happened where I'm feeling like you're going to take my phone away, I am going to be very upset because I don't want to lose that phone that I already have. Or you're going to prevent me from something I want in the future. It doesn't have to be a tangible thing. It doesn't have to be something tangible. Maybe you're going to threaten me with, my girlfriend is going to leave me, or my business is going to be declared illegal, or my house is going to be condemned. Something, I mean, I'm using some ridiculous examples, but you get the picture. So fear for me, yes, comes from a threat to the basic instincts. However, I have to also boil it down even further. Are you coming to take away something I already have, or are you going to prevent me from getting something I want in the future? Be it a girl, be it a car, be it a house, be it money, be it self-esteem, be it fame, be it fortune. It could be as simple as one time I was interviewed on the radio, and they came into a delicatessen that I used to eat lunch at, and I got on the radio. They interviewed me, and I got on the radio. And one of the guys that was sitting behind me was Rip Roaring Man. He wanted to be interviewed on the radio, and he was mad as a wet hen. Not at me. He was mad at the reporter. She just was walking around, and I happened to be wearing a Bears t-shirt. And this was something about Walter Payton. And so they came around and they were interviewing people because he had just died. And they were interviewing people about Walter Payton. If you don't know who Walter Payton was, he was a football player on the Chicago Bears. And if you don't know who Walter Payton was, shame on you. Shame on you. That's terrible. That's not acceptable if you don't know who Walter Payton was. Come on. He was one of the greatest football players ever to play football in this world. But anyway, I happen to be wearing a Bears shirt. Today I'm wearing Cubs. I should have been wearing Ducks, but I put on Cubs. I'm not going to go change it. But so, because the Ducks are playing today. The Cubs are playing too, but Ducks are more important today because college football I love. I love baseball too, but that's okay. So I was wearing a Bears t-shirt, and so she interviewed me about Walter Payton. Okay, I got on the radio. Big frickin' deal. That and $1, I have $1. You put that together with $1, I got $1. If we were in Chicago, I'd say that and $1 will get you on the bus. We used to say that all the time when I was a kid. That and $1 will get you on the 151. The 151 was the bus line that ran down Devon Avenue when I was a kid growing up in Chicago. So anyway, let's move forward. 67, down at the bottom. Notice that the word fear is bracketed alongside the difficulties with Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, the employer, and the wife. This short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. It set in motion trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. But did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble. Now, I'm going to talk about a resentment that I had against God Almighty. And one of the resentments that I've had against God Almighty is because I missed out on a lot of stuff. I will never know what it's like to hold a girl's hand as a young man. I will never know what it's like to have that summer romance, to have that passion with a girl of youth. I will never know what it's like to have the kind of career that I feel I should have had. I will never know what it's like to be productive as a young man. I will never know what that's like. I feel very productive now. I feel like I'm living my best life now. And I feel that God took lemons and made lemonade in my life very clearly. And as I look back on that resentment, I look back on everything I missed, the sex, the passion, the romance, the youth. My mom died when I was 24, my dad 22. My dad died when I was 24, and I was hammer and tongs into this disease. I had nothing. I had nobody. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't see my part for a very long time. How does my part relate to fear? Well, I wish I could have, and I wish I did, put down the food and recover. I came in here when I was 24. I knew what it was, but yet it took me years to finally get into recovery. I had a 7 or 8 year period of abstinence, and I worked a decent program, but I left and I stopped doing it, and I picked up the food again. And I have 45 years in program, but I have 25 years of abstinence You do the math because I can't. So you do the math that I have 45 years in these rooms. I have been to thousands of meetings. I have probably been to more live meetings of OA than anybody that I know. Now that may not, maybe you have more than I, it's not, doesn't matter. But I have gone to meetings 7 days a week for many, many, many years. Snowstorms, sleet, ice, hail, heat. I was there. Why? I didn't have anywhere else to go. I didn't have anything else to do. So I went to meetings every day because there was people there. And mostly they were not. Now I've had some fat shaming. That's for not for this discussion. I've had some fat shaming in OA, but mostly the people in OA did not ridicule me about my weight. So it was a perfect storm. You weren't going to get rid of me. I've dated 4 girls in my life. I've met every one of them in these rooms of Overeaters Anonymous. I don't know what it's like to date a girl that's not in these rooms. I have no idea how that's done. I've never done it, so I have no idea. And I don't want to find out. I want to stay with the one I have. Okay, page 68. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper. Column 1. Column 1, and it says here, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. If you have a resentment in connection with a fear, where does it go? It goes in the resentment section. The fear section of the 4th step is for fears that you have where there is no resentment in connected with them. I fear dying. We all do, right? It wouldn't be normal if you didn't. That's why I don't go run out and play in traffic. That's why I don't swallow swords. That's why I don't play Russian roulette. That's why I don't, whatever. I don't know, whatever. I fear dying. I fear being physically hurt. I don't want to be physically hurt. I have no resentment in connection with that. I don't have anything connected to that, but I fear these things. Okay, column 1 in the fear inventory, there's going to be 4 columns for fear, 4 columns for resentment, 4 for fear, 5 for sex. 4, 4, and 5. I'll walk you through them. Column 1, who or what do you fear? All right, I'll give you an example of a fear I have that's not connected to a resentment. In my younger days, I wrote a lot of bad checks. I lied when the truth would have been better. I did a lot of stupid things. I said a lot of stupid things. I was stupid then. Hopefully I'm smart now. I don't know. But the bottom line is that I feared seeing Joe Blow over there because I owe Joe Blow money. I don't resent Joe Blow. I don't think he's a schmuck, but I owe him money and I don't want to see him. Oh, there he is in the supermarket. There he is in the parking lot. There he is in the store, in whatever. I don't want to run into him. I owe him money. He's going to shame me, which is a threat to my social instinct and my self-esteem. He's going to excoriate me, which is something I don't want to have happen. That's a threat to my social instinct. That's because he's going to think I'm a jerk. It's a threat to my self-esteem. It's a threat to my emotional security. Do you see where we're going with this? I don't resent Joe Blow. I don't resent Joe Blow, but I fear Joe Blow. What did I do to set the ball rolling? I wrote him a bad check and I never went back and gave him the money. Now I feel like too much time has passed. I don't want to face him. Little did I know when I came in here, I was going to have to go make all these amends. I was going to have to face every one of those people, and I'm a better person for it. I'm a better person for it. I got closer to God and further away from pizza by making those amends. So the first column is who or what do you fear? Okay, Now, we asked ourselves why we had them. Column 2, why do you fear them or it? Column 1, who or what do you fear? Column 2, why do you fear it? Column 3, in keeping with why you fear it, what instinct or instincts are affected? Column 1 in the fear inventory, who or what do you fear? Column 2, why do you fear them? 19 words or less, please. Do not write me a book as to why you fear death or why you fear anything. I don't need a book here. If you're going to write a book, call Amazon. Don't write me one in your 4-step. I don't allow that. Okay, column 3, what basic instinct or instincts are affected? Column 4, again, because it's going to say, wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it doesn't go far enough. Some of us once had great confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse. What did you do to set this ball rolling? And what basic character defects were brought to the surface? Does it sound like the resentment inventory? It should, because it's exactly the same. There's no difference. See how simple they made it? See how you don't have to go to Yale or Dartmouth to do this? You don't have to go buy anything. You don't have to download anything. There's a whole cottage industry on our 4-step booklets and this, and my God in heaven. And all these questions. Did you ever tell a dirty joke? Did you ever spit on the sidewalk? Did you ever kick a dog? What the hell? If you weren't nuts before you did that, you'd be in a rubber room when you got done. And besides that, I don't want to know anybody. I don't want to know anybody that hasn't ever told a dirty joke. If you haven't told a dirty joke, I don't want to know you. All right? I don't want to know you. If you're above the age of about 10, I don't want to know you. All right? Okay. So the bottom line is that we have a situation where here's the 4 columns for fear. Column 1, who or what do you fear? Column 2, why do you fear it? Column 3, what basic instinct or instincts are affected? Column 4, what did you do to set this in motion? And what defects of character were brought to the surface? Simple enough. You don't need to go to the University of Illinois. You don't need to go to Dartmouth or Yale. You don't need to do that. You don't need to have a graduate degree in 4 steps. Okay? You don't need that. Just write it down. Write it down. Let's continue. I'm on page 68. Perhaps there is a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. We are in the world to play the role He assigns, just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us and humbly rely on Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. That is one of the most beautiful promises I've ever read in my life. I would rather match calamity with serenity than just about anything. I lived my life in a state of panic and fear like you couldn't believe. My father and mother fostered this in me. My father did not make a living. He was not a businessman. If it wasn't for his Social Security, we would have been in the street. My mother couldn't make a living, and my dad really couldn't make a living either. And we were seemingly one flat tire away from the street. And this is how I grew up. I also grew up with a man who told me every day of my life, this world hates you, and they're going to come and kill you one day. And if they don't kill you, they'll kill your children, because that's what they do. And I'm 5, I'm 3, I'm 11, I'm 20 and I'm growing up in this. How am I supposed to feel secure in the world when anytime I think I'm in a neighborhood that's not people like me, or areas where it's not people like me, I'm going to be killed? Because that's what I'm hearing every day. So the bottom line is, fear ransacked my life. And it says here, calamity with serenity. I may not have been what I was. I may not be what I was. That's better. I may not be what I was, but thank God I'm like I am today, and I'm not what I used to be, because I lead a good life today. God took lemons and made lemonade. I won't have a girlfriend in my 20s. I won't have a girlfriend in high school. I won't have the romance and the passion of youth ever. I will never be someone's first love. I will never have any of that. What I do have now is, this is my house. I have a bank account. I have a car. I have friends in and out of OA. I have a purpose and a rhythm that underlay all. When I get up in the morning, I never have to wonder why. I am here to do service to God. I am here to serve God, and I am here as a participant in Overeaters Anonymous, which is the most righteous thing I can do. And everything else is up to God. Everything else is up to God. I feel secure. And for the very first time in my life, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I feel that my life matches calamity with serenity. I made it through a divorce. I've made it through through breakups. I've made it through all kinds of health issues. I've had 4 joint replacements in recovery. The physical pain of the knee replacements was more than I could handle. A hip is a walk in the park compared to a knee. A knee is brutal, just brutal. And I made it. And I walk 3 miles a day, and I'm okay. I'm all right. We never apologize to anyone for depending upon our Creator. We can laugh at those who think spirituality is the way of weakness. Paradoxically, it is the way of strength. The verdict of the ages is that faith means courage. All men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let Him demonstrate through us what He can do. I have a life. My life works. Do I have the house I want? No. Do I have the car I want? No. But I have a car and I have a house. Do I want to be 15 years old again, or 10 years old and have a do-over? Yes, but I'm 70. And I'll never get a do-over, but I'm 70 and I'm alive. I'm alive. Doctors have been signing my death warrant for 60 years. Doctors have been declaring me that I'm going to die for 60 years, and I am still here. The verdict of the ages is that faith means courage. All men of faith have courage. They trust their God. We never apologize for God. Instead, we let Him demonstrate through us what He can do. We ask Him to remove our fear and direct our attention to what He would have us be at once we commence to outgrow fear. That's a prayer that I use all the time. God, remove my fear and direct my attention to what you would have me be. And what I get as an answer every time is, I outgrow fear, but He wants me to help someone else in Overeaters Anonymous. And I do the best I can. Between you and me, you think I want to answer all these repetitive questions? What's the difference between recovered and recovering? What's the difference between this and that? You know how many times I've answered the same question? More times than you have hair on your head. But the bottom line is, that's my job. That's the dues I pay for the life I have. And I'm human. Sometimes I get frustrated. Sometimes I get judgmental. Sometimes, now don't just ask me what's the question and answer. Don't just ask me what's the difference between recovered and recovering just to screw with me. But the bottom line, I can see some of you are writing it down. You're going to do it. But the bottom line is that that's the dues I pay for the life I have. Within reason, if I want something, I buy it. Within reason, if I want something, I buy it. Okay? Now let's talk about sex here for just a minute. Take it easy. We're not doing any demonstrations here. We're just going to talk. Take it easy. Okay. How do we hurt each other in this area? When you get down to brass tacks, when you get down to things in life, most deep-seated resentments that split families apart, that split people apart, it comes down basically to two things: finance and romance. Finance and romance. That's basically what will tear a family apart. So let's take a look at the ways in the time we have left here. We'll get as far as we get. What are some of the ways that we hurt each other in this area of sex? Now, if I dated Mary and I broke up with Mary, is that a harm that I did Mary? No, it's not. Nope. That's the natural course of life. That happens every day. If I dated Mary and I was late to pick her up, we were supposed to go to the movies and dinner, and I was about 20 minutes late, and she was upset. She was waiting in the rain, and she put me in the doghouse for a while because I was late. Is that a sexual harm that I did Mary? No, it's not. Let's take a look at the ways we hurt each other in this area of sex. Now, the first thing that most people think of in this area is cheating. And yes, if I'm in a committed relationship, be it marriage, be it partnership, be it whatever you want to call it, and I step out of that relationship with somebody else and I cheat, that is a sexual harm. Yes, it is. But let's take a look at beyond the obvious. Am I using my God-given sex powers for something other than what God intended me to use them for? Now, let's take a look at some of the manifestations. You're working at a company. Notice I'm saying you, not me. I have a lot of doubt when it comes to sexual energy. But you're working at a company, and you notice that one of the supervisors at this company, somebody that has real clout at this company, likes you. You care nothing for them. But you are allowing them to be led on that maybe if they cultivate something with you, that there's a romance a-brewing here. But you don't do it for romantic purposes. You do it to mess with them, but yes or not, but you're doing it to further your career. That has nothing to do with romance. That has nothing to do with sex. That is using your God-given sex powers. You're hurting another person. You're deliberately misleading. You're deliberately misleading that person to further your career because of your security instinct. You're leading another person on, and you're going to hurt them because of what you want, and you feel nothing for them. That is a harm. That is a sexual harm that you are doing to another person. Let's just say, for example, that you're lonely and you want something to do on a Saturday night. And you know that there's this person that is more than willing to ask you out. They have made it very clear they're into you. You care nothing for them, but you want them to take you out. Maybe they'll pick up the check, but it'll at least give you something to do. So you call the person and they take you out and you sort of give them the idea that maybe there's something there when you know damn well there's not. That is a sexual harm done to another person. You're messing with another person for your own personal gain. Maybe you're using your God-given sex powers to manipulate another person. Let's just say you're withholding affection from a person, and you are a blue car person, they are a red car person. So you'll show them, you'll cut them off at the pass and withhold affection, withhold sex, withhold love until they come around to your way of thinking. That is not short of a sexual harm. That is hurting another person so you can get your own way. Okay? Maybe somebody rejected you. Maybe you and another person have decided to end your relationship. You'll show that mother effer. You'll sleep with his friend or her friend. You'll seduce the friend, not because you care for the friend, but you want to get even with another person. You want to use your God-given sex powers to hurt another person. That's not okay. That is a sexual harm done to another person. Maybe you are in a situation where you just want something, maybe a gift, maybe you want them to do something for you, so you use your God-given sex powers for something other than what it was intended for. And when you do that, you are harming another person in this area. Okay? Very, very simple. Here's the litmus test. Are you using your God-given sex powers for something other than what it was intended for? Okay? If you are, chances are good you're going to have to put it down on this part of the inventory, and you're going to end up making an amends for it. Maybe you just want attention. Maybe you just want attention. Maybe you just want somebody to fawn all over you. So you use your God-given sex powers for attention. You care nothing for this person. This person means nothing to you. Yet, you're hurting that person to get attention for yourself. Okay? So take a look at these things, and we're going to continue here on the bottom of 68. Now about sex. Many of us needed an overhauling there, but above all, we tried to be sensible on this question. It's so easy to get way off the track. Here we find human opinions running to extremes, absurd extremes perhaps. One set of voices cried that sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex, who bewail the institution of marriage, who think that most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think we do not have enough of it, or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow man no flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. We want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter of anyone's sex conduct. We all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't, but what can we do about them? We're going to use 5 columns for sex. Here they are. We reviewed our own conduct over the years past. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? First column is going to be a who. It won't be a what, unless you're in a relationship with a tree or the FBI or something. You're going to hurt a who. Who did you hurt? Column 1. Who did you hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? What did you do to them? 19 words or less, please. I don't need to read a pornographic novel every time we do the fifth step. Please do not give me a porno novel. 19 words or less. What did you do to that person? Where were we at fault? What should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked at. Okay, now we're going to take 5 columns. Write them down. I'm going to say it twice. Column 1, who did you hurt? Column 2, what'd you do to him? Column 3, what basic instinct or instincts were involved? Column 4, what defects of character came to the surface in you that caused you to hurt them? Column 5, what should you have done instead? Please don't write me a book in column 5. Column 1, who'd you hurt? Column 2, what'd you do to them? Column 3, what basic instinct or instincts are involved? You'll find that very little of it is the sex instinct. Very little of it. Mostly it's going to be social and security. The sex instinct is very seldom even discussed in this section. Column 4, what defects of character in you cause you to take that action? Column 5, what should you have done instead? Want me to do that one more time? Somebody's asking me, will you do it one more time? I'll do it one more time. Column 1, who did you hurt? Column 2, what'd you do to them? Column 3, what basic instincts are involved? Column 4, what defects of character in you were brought to the surface? Column 5, what should you have done instead? Okay, let's continue. We're on page 69. In this way, we tried to shape a sound ideal for our future sex life. I'm going to talk about this mostly next week. I'm going to stop right here for just a second. I'm not going to turn it over to questions and answers just yet. I never cheated on anybody. I never did that. And I never used sex powers to do that. I never did that. But I'll tell you something that I did do. I, out of fear, allowed myself to marry somebody and stayed married to them for 18 years that I really was not in love with. We met each other at a time when I was coming out of the only relationship I had ever had in my life. I had dated one person when I met my wife. We dated for about 1.5 years, and this person broke up with me. Oh, I was so miserable. But she broke up with me, and then I met my wife, who was going to become my wife. We had a lot of problems, and she wanted to get married. Her sister was married. Her sister had a kid. That kid is now like in his 30s, 40s, whatever. And I was in. Somebody wants to get married, I'm in. Who do I have to kill? Yes, this is the first girl that didn't want to be friends. Ugh. This is the first girl that didn't just want to be friends. I hate that word. I'm in, man. And I married her. We produced a beautiful daughter. We had some adventures together. We moved to Eugene, Oregon. Weeks after we were married, we helped each other in many ways. She made me a better person. She taught me a lot of things about life. But I shouldn't have married her. I should have not been racked with fear. I should have stood up and said, no, we are not compatible. We have no business getting married. I'm scared to death of you. You're always pissed off. I'm not marrying you. I didn't. I hurt myself. I hurt her. For nothing. Out of fear. Out of fear. I met her in OA too. But the bottom line is, I shouldn't have done that. I should have seen the handwriting on the wall and said no. So should she, but this is my inventory, not hers. Next week, we're going to talk about the sexual ideal. I'm going to talk about some of the things I've learned from the few relationships I've had. I'm going to talk about those kind of things, sexual ideal. And it's not going to be, I want her to look this way, I want her to look that way. If that's what you're thinking, ain't happening, kid. We're going to talk about ideals. We're going to talk about important things. So don't miss next week. Okay, we're going to